newspapers. Welcome back. Now let's start with the Daily Nation this morning. The developing story of a billionaire, Josant Rai, who's currently allegedly been kidnapped. And this is exactly what the president is talking about this particular story this morning, because it is the story that the Daily Nation speak this morning as a frontline headline. Smart or reckless? They're asking that question. And this is what the president is saying. President William Ruto is a man on a mission to deliver on his campaign promise and the expectations of many Kenyans hoping for a break from the high cost of living. But even as he sets out to crush rampant cartels and revive the ailing sugar sector, his recent broadsides on the ownership of Moyo Sugar Company have stirred up a storm. And this is what he said: we will not entertain any court cases. They should either withdraw the cases or go themselves. I told them there are only three things. If they want to cause trouble, they either leave the country, I take them to jail, or they go to heaven. And that is coming on the back of allegations that Mr. Rai, the billionaire who won that particular tender then to revive Moyo Sugar Company, was kidnapped sometime last week. And that particular story is running on the Daily Nation this morning on page 7. Then you can actually take a look at it. On page 10, you're going to read a story on how Babu walks free and DJ's shooting case. Is a story that we've also covered on our website on www.lookuptv.co.ke. And that particular story that I started with this morning on our national carrier Kenya Oils has more than doubled its half-year losses after it reported 21.7 billion hole in the 6 months ending June 2023. But if you study this particular result, then you will see that indeed they did make profits. But then if you look at their endemic debts, that's exactly what is digging them deeper into this particular loss-making territory. All right, that's the story that you have to read on page 28. And on Parenting Now, Daily Nation, got to read about how members of parliament plot to unplug Kenya power monopoly. Now, the lawmakers are also targeting cancellation in faces of the contracts of 5 IPPs currently being paid a combined 23 billion shillings annually. All right, that's the story that you're waking up to this morning. And the changing face of police uniform, you've got to read that particular story on page 8. Now let's move on to page 3. There's a story here on how a court has barred Kadhi from ruling on a succession case. We've got to read that particular story on page 3 as well. And yes, that's the story that we covered this morning on the back pages on how members of parliament now plan to stop Kenya power monopoly. Good. Let's cross over to the Standard this morning, and this is exactly what the headlines same as the Daily Nation this morning. Take back the death threats, leaders tell Ruto. Now, President asks leaders and civil rights activists with his remarks to sugar investors, telling them they will either leave the country or it will jail them or escort them to their Mecca. What is the interpretation of that particular verse? When somebody tells you, I'll escort you to heaven, is it a death threat? What do you think? A particular story has been covered on page 2. When the president says, I'll escort you to heaven, now the leaders are telling him, you got to take that back. Look at what Mombasa Senator is saying, that even though Mr. Rai is being accused of frustrating the revival of the sugar industry, there are better ways to address this other than a president issuing callous threats. Eric Theory, who's the LSK president, is saying the demand we are making to the president is not only for him to withdraw and apologize and to allow the due process of law to take its course to its logical conclusion. That particular story has been covered on page 2. What do you think? Yeah? Does it mean I'll kill you? Talk to us at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. There's a story here that has been covered on page 39 on what went wrong for marathoners in Budapest. It was not a very good performance. Read that particular story on page 39. And Western seeks to chart course without Raila. That particular story has been covered on page 8 of the Standard. On page 4, you're going to read how judges Uhuru denied jobs seek payment. That is Justin Agre Mchelule. There's also Justice Weldon Koril, Justice George Odunga, and finally Justice Joel Ngugi. All right, that particular story has been covered on page 4. And if you remember, immediately the president assumed office, all these judges then were duly appointed to serve in that capacity. How's that? Take a tiny breather. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to your newsroom, where we get to look at some of the biggest stories that you are waking up to this morning. My name is Simba Kiage. Welcome back. As the country strives to manage solid waste disposal, Bidii Yangu, an environmental conservation group in a Bondeni estate, Nakuru, has taken the initiative to recycle plastic waste creatively to create flower vases, shoe racks, and other home decor. Wairimu Wasike with a particular story.
Nakuru County, a harbour of beauty and serenity, but like many places in Kenya, the encroachment of solid and plastic waste has adversely affected the environment of Nakuru, leading to clogging of drains, littering of the streets, and pollution of fresh air. The local community in the sprawling Bondeni estate has taken a step ahead in the recycling business and is turning discarded plastic bottles and used car tires into a fortune. Meet 28-year-old Consolata Wanjohi, who highlights to us, while most people consider discarded plastic bottles as rubbish and disgusting, her environment conservation group sees it as a raw material for pure art. Wanjohi, as a member of Bidii Yangu Environment Conservation Group, is giving life to used plastic as a way of reducing their pollution, dumping, and burning.
What you do, you take one bottle and make holes on the top side and on the downside. Then you insert the wires in a systematic manner. Then after it's done now, you can make the whole bin. This one, as you can see, it's on the matters of reducing and recycling to reduce the plastic waste in our community.
While speaking to us, Chepto has highlighted that the conservation group has also gone a notch higher in redefining the narrative about environmental conservation by manufacturing briquettes from a blend of charcoal dust and cow dung as one way of reducing reliance of firewood, thus reducing destruction of forests.
Wenye zamani walikuwa wanatupa samadi ovyo ovyo, kama nile chenga ya makaa unakuta zimemwagwa, lakini tuliwaonesha umuhimu ya kuweka pamoja. Sisi kama group tunanunua samadi, ndio tunakuja tunatengeneza makaa yetu.
Secretary of the group, Martin Mwanthi, who now owns a homestead surrounded by a perimeter wall made up of stacked plastic bottles, says that building structures with waste plastic cuts the cost by about 40%. Mwanthi explains that constructing houses using plastic bottles reduces the need for other building materials, particularly sand and concrete blocks.
The stream, hiyo vile imeingizwa kwa hiyo waya, inakuja inapigiliwa hapa, waya ya juu inapigiliwa na waya ya chini inapigiliwa, then inakuja inakaziwa hapa to make it tight, So tunapiga kwa pole ya pili, then kwa the next pole as it goes round mpaka mahali itakuwa inaishia. It is a very firm wall, It's a very firm wall because the type of wire tumetumia kuunganisha hizi chupa ni ile wire ambayo inatolewa kwa tiles.
Wairi Mwasike, Lookuptv.
Let's move on to the corridors of justice. Now, it's a big win for Embakasi East Member of Parliament, Babu Owino, after a Nairobi court set him free in a case which he was charged with misusing his firearm in the shooting of Felix Orinda, popularly known as DJ Evolve. Now, trial magistrate Bernard Ochoi, while acquitting Babu, ruled that the prosecution failed to present enough evidence against the lawmaker.
Babu Owino was initially charged with the two counts. In count 1, he had been charged with the offense of attempted murder, contrary to section 220 of the Penal Code. And the particulars were that on 17th January at a B Club, Galana Plaza in Kilimani area, he unlawfully attempted to cause the death of Felix Orinda by shooting him on the neck. This charge was compromised, and it was withdrawn under section 204 CPC on the 14th of December 2021. In the second count, which is a charge facing the accused now before this court, the accused is charged with the offense of behaving disorderly while carrying a firearm, and the particulars of the offense are that on the 17th day of January 2020 at B Club, Galana Plaza in Kilimani area within Nairobi County, while carrying a firearm, make a style pistol, serial number 3159039, he became disorderly and fired one round of ammunition with intent to shoot Felix Orinda. In support of the charges, the prosecution called a total of 10 witnesses, who included George Otieno Mburi, security manager at a B Club the particular day, Godfrey Mwai, the manager of both the B Club at Kilimani and Gossip Club at Lavington on the particular day, one Derek Globa Makoa, a driver working at B Club. The above stated reasons, the accused is found not guilty and is acquitted under section 215 CPC. And in conclusion, the court notes that this is a case of great public interest that may have gone wrong during investigations, and perhaps the DCI should consider such cases being investigated in future by senior experienced officers, at least in the rank of Inspector of Police and above. So that is the judgment of the court.
This judgment has gone the way the Almighty God wanted it to go. That is how God wanted it to go. And I want to say that the day that I will be victorious is the day that I will see DJ Evolve walk, stand by my side. And I want to assure DJ Evolve and members of the public that I will walk by DJ Evolve's side. I will always be there for him. And in fact, I'm planning to take him to India for further treatment. And I'm praying to the Almighty God to grant Felix both the physical and spiritual strength.
Now, Kenyan Golden Girls Faith Kipyegon and Mary Moraa received a heroic welcome at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport after representing Kenya at the concluded World Athletics Championships in Budapest. Consequently, Senate Sports Committee has raised concern on the state of the sports in the country. Ruth Washekena reports.
With pride and elation, after putting the country on the map, The Kenya athletic team, which represented the country in the concluded World Athletic Championship in Budapest, received a heroic welcome at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Sports Principal Secretary Peter Toom was among the Kenyans who received them, saying the government has plans to improve the sports industry.
Is that we have realized that they need more training, and therefore we are now encouraging ourselves to put more funding on issues of training. And when you saw what they did this time as a group, it is very motivating. I found a very motivated group. I found a group that is want to win for Kenya, a group that, speaks to itself. And therefore, as government, we are very proud of them. We are very proud of you. You've hoisted our flag very high, and we'll continue giving that support.
Among the athletes are Faith Kiage, 3 times 1500-meter title holder and 5,000-meter gold winner, and 800-meter gold medalist Mary Mora. Faith Kiage now aims to participate in the 2024 Olympics that will be held in Paris, France.
This is a big motivation, I still want to push myself to empower young girls out there to know that everything is possible in life. I want to make history. I've done so in Budapest, winning 15 and 5,000. So I still want to do history, being the first woman to win 3 gold medals in Olympics.
I think bado sijamaliza season. Niko na Brussels Diamond League 400 meters, then nimalizie Eugene, from there nirudi nianze kujipangia Paris next year.
Team Kenya won a total number of 10 medals, including 3 gold medals, 3 silver medals, and 4 bronze medals. Kenya finished the championship in the 5th position, ranking them top in the African continent. Meanwhile, the Senate Committee on Sports, among them Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei and Kilifi Senator Stewart Madzayo, raised their concerns over the state of sports in the country.
Provide the full details of contracts signed between the Ministry of Sports, Athletics Kenya and Nike, and McHugh, the Minister of Sports, on several occasions. And I want you to examine those photos he takes. He normally wears shoes of Adidas, yet we have a contract of Nike. And the contract between Athletics Kenya and Olympic Committee of Kenya. Number 4, expound on the training kits and grants donated by various international partners to Athletics Kenya and how it was distributed to various training levels in Kenya and the teams traveling for various competitions.
For Lookuptv Sports, I'm Ruto'S.
The Senate has approved the formation of the National Dialogue Committee that will spearhead the talks between both sides of a political divide. As Ian Ketani now files, the motion was supported by a majority of senators, with those from the ruling coalition calling upon the committee to prioritize issues affecting the common man.
After the National Assembly voted to approve the Dialogue Committee, the Senate counterparts have today followed suit after the committee members wanted the team to be recognized legally for the recommendations to be recognized constitutionally.
Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
The Senate, however, resolved that the committee shall brief President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga on the recommendations before tabling it in the National Assembly and the Senate.
That the National Dialogue Committee shall report to the leadership of Kenya Kwanza and Azimio coalitions within 60 days and thereafter submit its report to Parliament. That in the execution of its mandate, the National Dialogue Committee may invite, engage with and consider submission from stakeholders, collect views from the public and engage experts, professionals and other technical resource persons.
Senators allied to the Kenya Kwanza coalition took the opportunity to call out Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga, with Isiolo Senator Fatma Dulo cautioning the House over a repeat of the same after the 2027 elections.
If you have been defeated, you have been defeated. Go and wait for 5 years, and after that, go for another election and see whether you will go through. But at the bottom of my heart, there is no solution to this problem. And the same thing will be repeated next, even after 2027.
The best national dialogue happened on the 9th of August, Mr. Speaker, and the people of Kenya spoke. 50 million of the people of Kenya spoke to this particular issue, and they voted for William Ruto. There is nothing that the 10-member committee can do to it. the final and the apex of that matter was at the Supreme Court. There's nothing that Kimani Ichung'wah and Kalonzo Musyoka can do to that particular fact.
However, Siaya Senator Oburu Odinga differed sharply with his Kenya Kwanza counterparts, while insisting that the talks will help shape the country's future.
Dialogue is always the way to go. And this is not only in Kenya, it is all over the world. And Mr. Speaker, those who are saying that there has been negotiations every election in Kenya, maybe were born yesterday. But I can tell them that since independence, which is more than 60 years, there have been always elections every 5 years, and I don't think there was a dialogue every 5 years.
Uasin Gishu Senator Jackson Mandago, while voicing his support for the dialogue talks, noted that the committee should come up with a policy framework to ensure the masterminds of the demonstrations pay for the destruction witnessed during any chaotic protests.
I would also want to urge those who are going to discuss that the compensation of property destroyed must also be discussed. And I propose, Mr. Speaker, to those who are going to sit there, that the funds should be sourced from political parties that were involved in those losses, Mr. Speaker.
The talks are now expected to take shape after the approval in Parliament, as their recommendations will now be legally binded. Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
Now, as schools continue to reopen across the country for the third term, transport was hectic early Tuesday morning as fare prices were hiked at different matatu stages as a result of shortage of vehicles. Pedestrians and vehicle traffic was witnessed in the Nairobi Central Business District and across some of the parts of the country, including in the coastal regions of Malindi, Kilifi County, where students and parents had to wait for vehicles for longer than usual. Let's take a look.
This was the situation. More passengers than public transport vehicles.
No, it was a bit jammy.
Signifying the opening of the third session for the all learners across the country.
I'm Naitore. I'm a passenger traveling to Meru. Today, traveling is a bit tiresome today because there are not available cars. You have to wait to book so that you can get the next available car. The rates are not so badly off considering it's high peak, so obviously there is a hike of price.
Marking the beginning of an end of the 2023 education calendar year.
I'm Beatrice, mimi ni mzazi na nimeleta mtoto na 20k wanatupea ofa safa. Iko poa. Lakini maisha ni ngumu. Lakini tunashukuru Mungu.
A shortage of long distance vehicles has been experienced in Nairobi's city center, which has resulted in a doubling of fares.
It's Murioki. I'm the driver of 20k. Kulingana na leo vile iko juu watoto wa kurudi shule maneno ama jamu yatushika huku, hata afadhali saa ile hakuna nini frodi ya watoto. Gari iko ya mafuta ama kulingana na usafiri wa leo sio mbaya vile juu bei nayo iko juu kidogo. Kwa hivyo at least itapakisha kitu kizuri.
Public service transport vehicles have been forced to outsource and increase the number of vehicles from their counterparts who provide services in Nairobi and its environs to accommodate the large number of passengers.
Kawaida, najua kama sisi tumezoea kama raha, sisi tumezoea kubeba abiria wetu na 1000. So hata kama iko juu, hata wengine wakiwa bei juu, sisi tuna maintain 1000. So tunaona tu always is equal.
Wakali watoto wanarudi shule tarehe 29. Ni vigumu kidogo, ni vigumu kwa wale wazazi wa kawaida wenye hawajaandikwa kazi.
The situation was similar in different parts of the country, including Malindi and Kilifi County, where many students have remained in bus stations as some parents complained of the difficulties and high cost of living, following learners reporting and being sent back by the school administration to settle school fees arrears.
Kwa hivyo hali ni ngumu kabisa. Mtoto wangu yuko atafanya mtihani na amekuwa akiregeshwa nyumbani kwa sababu ya ugumu wa maisha. Kwa hivyo serikali iangalie wazazi, iangalie maana hali ya uchumi ni mbaya sana. Watoto
watoto wengi sana tunapata pa stage. Hata magari yalikuwa hayatoshi. Wanafanya kuyasubiri, lakini saa hii hizi gari ndo zinasubiri hao watoto. Kwa hivyo ina maana kwamba saa hii watoto wengi bado wamesalia nyumbani. Nafikiri tatizo ni hiyo school fee. Hilo ndo tatizo kubwa kwao. Kweli hapa fare hatujapandisha. Kwa sababu hatujapandisha ni vile ile hali ya uchumi vile ambavyo iko. Saa hii tu hizo gari tunazifanya kuzibambanya kwenda. Je, tukiongeza fare ina maana kwamba hizo gari zitalala kabisa?
Parents now want the government to address the cost of living stalemate, as well as they want school heads to give them more leeway to organize themselves on how to pay the school fees.
Shule zimefunguliwa na already nishapata wanafunzi hapa pamoja na wazazi takriban 50 wakidaisha kwamba watoto wao walienda kuripoti jana na wakaregeshwa. Leo ndio wakaja wazazi wengine pia, nikazungumza na wao, nikawaelekeza kwamba wawarudishe watoto shule, waende kama wazazi pia waende wakaongea na walimu ili wale watoto waweze kubaki shuleni, na especially wengi ambao wanarudishwa ni wale form 4s ambao wanaenda kumaliza course yao ya kidato cha 4.
As learning kicked off for the third term, various stakeholders including parents and transport sectors have continued to express varied opinions. With the fares hiking, parents still believe there is hope that all will be well as learners continue with their education. Stanley Lugaria, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Now, let's ask this question then. Now, are there controversial Worldcoin activities still ongoing in the country? Now, this is a question the National Assembly ad hoc committee sought to find out yesterday, as Mevin Getembe now reports. The Worldcoin venture started off as a research project with schools as a case study, but later converted to a business. Let's take a look at that.
Even after Worldcoin registration were altered following a notice given by the Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki, the National Assembly ad hoc committee today learned that those who had been registered are still assessing services in websites.
Now they have a timer that is indicating, counting all over how people are getting into, and I think as of today morning it was clocking 2.3 million verified.
How many Kenyans were registered, which authority was aware of the existing operations, and under what legal policies was the operation registered are some of the contentious issues that seek clarification.
Worldcoin registration in Kenya, are they in breach of any of the laws? Yes. We've already mentioned a few of those laws, especially the issue of onboarding. Data protection in this country, you are not allowed to export that data to an external storage device. We've already seen that the data was put to Amazon. We don't know what was put there. How was it put there? How can we...
Appearing before the Parliamentary Committee today, the National Computer and Cybercrime Coordination Committee presented a report on current investigation status on the registration of Worldcoin as they seek to find answers around the Worldcoin puzzle.
Every emerging technology must have a launch pad, and it's unfortunate that most of the developing economies, if you look at the list of the 34 countries that this Worldcoin is operating from, you can see it is tailored to specifically target the vulnerable citizens of these developing countries. So,
however, the HC4 committee failed to sufficiently respond to the complex issues raised and asked more time to submit a written report. The 17-member committee has 42 days to undertake the task and give an assessment. The probe is expected to resume tomorrow. Mevin Getembe, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
The Law Society of Kenya and other human rights organizations now want President William Ruto to retract and apologize following his sentiments that those who are involved in the case of Mumia Sugar will either leave the country, meet their maker, or go to jail. Now the society says it will not be far-fetched to assume the state had a hand in a businessman Joswant Rai's kidnapping, since he is more involved in the Mumia Sugar saga. And the groups have also accused the president of going against his promise not to allow extrajudicial killings in the country. Let's take a look.
Na nimeambia mambo ni mangapi?
matatu. Wakitaka kuniletea kisirani, either wahame Kenya, ama nitawaweka jela, ama wasafiri waende mbinguni.
It is a statement that has caught the attention of the nation. A man who earlier on had vowed not to use extrajudicial means to settle scores is now at the center of the latest abduction, that of businessman Jaswant Rai, who was abducted and later released for what is believed to be his involvement in the Mumias sugar case.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the Law Society of Kenya, Haki Africa and Amnesty International now want the president to offer an apology and let the law take its course.
Immediately, Mr. Rai was abducted. The president is on record as having made statements that he will stop at nothing to resolve this matter of Mumias Sugar. And yesterday, he buttressed those comments by issuing the very, very chilling threats that he did to those who have filed cases with regards to the ownership and control of Mumias Sugar.
Alionekana kuonya wale ambao wamefikisha kesi mahakamani kuhusu umiliki wa Mumias Sugar Company. Kwa matamshi yake ni kama kwamba alikuwa anawaambia wachague mambo matatu. La kwanza wahame Kenya, ya pili kwamba atawaweka korokoroni, na ya tatu wasafiri waende mbinguni. Na yale matamshi ambayo yametamkwa na rais ni kama kwamba yamechukua katiba na kuisitisha kutotumika katika nchi yetu hii.
LSK now says that lawyers representing the businessmen have been threatened and asked to withdraw the case.
Haya matamshi kama yanavyochukuliwa huenda yanaashiria kwamba ni vitisho kwa wale wote ambao wanawakilisha kesi za Mumias Sugar Company.
There have been an attempt, and we know this because we have dealt with these lawyers, to intimidate the lawyers who are handling these cases on behalf of the parties that are before the court. But as the Law Society, we wish to remind them that they took an oath to serve justice without fear or favor.
The groups have accused the president of making a turn on a promise he made on extrajudicial killings, saying it is a subject of concern.
And so it is that about turn that we are concerned about, because it starts with one person before it becomes a flood. And so therefore, we do not want to see a repeat of our rivers, our forests being polluted or being dotted with people who have been dealt with in an extrajudicial manner. And that is the reason why we are calling and making this passionate appeal to the president and to his government.
President William Ruto has said the government will fund foreign sugar companies in the western region to overhaul its absolute equipment. Speaking as it toured Nzoia Sugar Company, Ruto stated that the government will also provide funds to boost the cultivation of its nucleus estates, with the move seeking to increase the company's sugarcane production and milling capacity for optimal operation. Rugai Val with the details.
Lack of strong management, waste of public money, and privatization of sugar industries and companies are among the points that have been hindering the progress of sugar farming in Kenya.
Wizara yangu ya kilimo, wizara ya fedha, nimeita wabunge wote wa kutoka hapa kwenu, wameketi chini na wizara ya kilimo. Nimeita governors wote akiwemo governor wenu, wameketi chini na wizara yetu ya kilimo. Na sasa tumekubaliana. Na tumekubaliana number one, mambo ya privatization ya kuuza shamba ya wananchi tuachane naye. Vile tulikubaliana.
President William Ruto has given 3 recommendations to more mismanagements in food production industries in Kenya.
Mtu yeyote ambaye anapanga ati kuiba pesa ya serikali, my friend, tafuta nchi ingine. Mimi nimewaambia hawa wakora wote, wezi wote, matapeli, nimesema hawa watu mambo yao ni 3. Si ndio? Either wahame Kenya, ama waende jela ama waende mbinguni.
President William Ruto is annoyed by the management that has been ruling the agricultural sectors, saying that he is tired of the continued failing system of managers. Speaking in Bungoma County at the Nzoia Sugar Factory, Ruto has promised to fund projects to repair those industries.
Serikali ya Kenya tutaweka investment kwa cane development ya Nzoia na kampuni zile zingine, number 1. Na number 2, tutaweka investment kwa mill ambayo itasiaga upya, kwa sababu ile mill iko hapa ni ya 1978, imezeeka, imeoza, na kwa hivyo haifanyi kazi vile inataka ifanyike.
On the list of the president's plan, it is to clear a sum of 117 billion Kenyan shillings debt that has been slowing down uprearing the sugar sector, explaining that its leadership has to be changed to ensure the incoming leadership will be working perfectly.
Ya tatu, hii madeni ikiondoka, mimi naweka pesa ya cane development, mimi naweka pesa ya kununua mill mpya, lakini management lazima tubadilishe. Management, madeni ya hizi kampuni zetu bilioni 117, ikiwemo bilioni 50 ya hapa Nzoia. Mimi niliwaambia tutafutilia mbali kama serikali ya Kenya.
Ruto has also promised to buy sugar production machines and funding them for innovation. Mumias and Nzoia sugar companies have been in the headlines for not paying their farmers to produce and sell their sugar.
Exactly 1 year ago, 28th of August 2022, uliomba na sisi hapa Bungoma Cathedral. Mwaka mmoja kamili umerudi hapa. Na wakati umekuja hapa, umesema unataka ukuje Nzoia. Because this is a lifeline ya watu wa Bungoma. Hapa ndio mambo yote inafanyika. Mimi nimesoma hapa. Nzoia wazazi walikuwa wakileta miwa, wanapeleka tu receipt kwa shule, karo inalipwa.
Ruga Ival, Lookuptv.
That particular story then would then mark the start of our conversation this morning. The president held a cabinet meeting in a Kakamega the other day where they came up with a raft of proposals, part of those which were essentially supposed to start the chart to the end of NHIF. In that, 3 bills, they come up. We're going to talk about them this morning, but not essentially on that, on the basis of this tour in Kakamega, or you say in the western part of the country. Is it essentially for political mileage or development? It is in that particular tour where he has essentially then even made a mistake, according to his biggest critics, or he's threatened any other person who's involved in the Mumia sugar business to step off. And maybe it's the right time then for me to ask you this question. When the president says that it's either I take you to jail so that you keep off, or I escort you to your Mecca. That particular statement right there, what does it mean? This morning, we asked the question, this Kakamega tour, is it a development tour or just political mileage for the president? Already see Mr. Mungai Eric seated with us in the studio. We do expect the rest of our guests to walk into the studio shortly so we can then begin that particular conversation. Join us online and Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. Good morning. See you shortly.
Are you at E? Realize your home ownership dream by investing in Brookvale Tuala, a magnificent prime residential property located in Ongata Rongai. Brookvale Tuala by Safaricom Investment Cooperative overlooks the majestic Ngong Hills and lies only 24 kilometers from Nairobi CBD. The project boasts of well-serviced plots with a perimeter wall, graded roads and a borehole. 50 by 100 plots are going for 1.4 million shillings with a flexible payment plan of up to 6 months. To book your plot, call 0729 121212 today. Safaricom Investment Cooperative, the investment partner of choice.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park, fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your #1 show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Yeah. Let's go.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na Manjoro. Kumbuka hapa ndipo unajifunza mambo mengi kuhusu ukulima. Kilimo ni uti wa mgongo wa nchi, na ukiwa na Njoro unajifunza. Kumbuka, angalia mwenyewe. Tunakuambia ukitaka kujua tips za ukulima, ungana na sisi kwenye Lookuptv. Every Sunday unatukuta pale saa 10, tunakuonesha kuhusu ukulima. Ukulima wa mimea, ukulima wa ng'ombe, ukulima wa kuku, ukulima wa mbuzi na yote ambayo yanahusiana na ukulima. Kumbuka nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali.
At Lookuptv across all your social media platforms, I am at Kiage Simba. Welcome to the Morning Drift this morning. This is a big conversation. I do have Mr. Mungai with us in the studio this morning. How are you doing, sir?
I'm well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Simba, for having us this morning.
Yeah.
You know, it's a beautiful morning. I can say today is very cold. It's a very cold Wednesday. And luckily for you and I, we are yet to go to heaven. We've
not gone to meet our Maker.
We've not gone to meet our Maker. We are in the studio this morning. Yeah. I want to welcome our viewers.
Yeah.
It's always a great pleasure to interact with them. And I am happy we are here this morning to discuss issues that affect the nation. And just to say that both ourselves and the viewer are very lucky that we haven't found our way to heaven as yet.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. But you know, Simba, yeah, I've always thought that heaven is a good thing. You know, we spend time on Sundays in church,
so you want to go to heaven,
singing, and wanting to go to heaven.
But somebody come and said you.
But now
I want to escort you to heaven. You're like, aye.
We are not boarding. It's an interesting country.
I don't know that. So, for any other person who's not been escorted to heaven this morning, we want to welcome you to the show. Maybe you can tell us why when somebody wants to escort you to heaven, now all of a sudden you're just saying that heaven is not a good thing. Anyway, there's just a lot that we have to go through this morning. I want to start from this perspective, Mr. Mungai. The president has gone to Kakamega, the western region in general. Still come there to date. This question has been, is he there for political mileage or essentially for developing the country? And this is the question that we've seen the majority of his critics put across, that at a time when we have devolved units, at a time when he met the 47 governors from in Eldoret at that particular 10-year summit, you would think that that could have been that. Now he's camped in the western region of the country. Is it for political mileage or development?
Thank you, Simba. I believe the reason why the president is going all the way to the counties is, in essence, if you look at the president's style of politics from long time ago, he doesn't like engaging what in essence we call political brokers.
Yes.
He is a man who believes in going directly to the people. And it is a strategy that he has honed and has worked well for him. If you recall, after the infamous handshake, Raila was waiting for Uhuru to take him to the people of Mount Kenya. And you recall correctly that for a long time, Uhuru was no-show. But Ruto instead chose to go to the people directly and seek for their votes. And I believe it is in that trajectory that he is now going back to the people, because there has been some sort of a challenge. And the challenge has been the government is doing a lot on the ground, but it would appear for one reason or another, the people are not able to get the information as to what government is doing. And part of the reason is because if you rely on the media to disseminate information, you know, sometimes media sets its own agenda.
Yeah.
In essence, they are the ones to decide what is news and what is not news. And therefore, you can imagine for the 47 counties, even if you are doing something in each particular county, even if you are to allocate 3 minutes for each story, you can see 47 counties for each 3 minutes. No one will watch your news. And so I believe the president has taken the prerogative to go to the ground and explain his policies and what he's doing. You remember he's gone to various regions. He was in Ukambani. He came to Mount Kenya the other day and held a cabinet meeting at the famous Sagana, which for most of us people in Mount Kenya, we used to see it on social media while people were you know, doing fine dining. He's now gone to Western. I believe very soon they are planning something for the Nyanza region. And in my opinion, it's a good thing when you hear from your president what exactly he's doing for you, because we gave him work to do and the work must get done.
Yes.
And the work must not only get done, but we must see to it that it is actually getting done. And I believe it's a good thing for him to go to the ground.
Yes. If you look at the issues that the president is essentially drumming support for or against in Kakamega, you would like to think that those are county issues as opposed to national government issues. Is it all right that the president should go to a county that has a governor that has a whole CIC, agriculture, with the rest of the people being employed in that particular county to solve those issues, to talk about issues pertaining a particular industry in that particular county at a time when we do know that there have been a heavy move then to privatize some of these factories?
The beauty with our constitution is that there are devolved functions. And as you rightly put it, agriculture is a devolved function.
Yes.
But when you look at it, the issues that are being addressed in Western are both, they are cross-cutting. There is the agricultural component, and there is also an investigative component. Because remember, when you talk about their court issues, you know, those have nothing to do per se with the county itself. There are issues of corruption which have to be dealt with at the national state level. Exactly. And so if you look at it, county governments have not grown to a level of maturity that they can handle some level of cartels. And I'll give you an example. If you do quick maths right now, just some quick maths. If you import, say, 25,000 metric tons of sugar, that's like half a ship, okay? Though now, those guys per bag, especially when the price of rice, the price of sugar had gone astronomically high, they were making like 3,000 Kenya shillings per 50 kg bag. If you do quick maths, then you can see what the farmers in Western Kenya are losing, and that money is going to someone's pocket. Now that is money that would have gone to a farmer, and we'll discuss more about that and yes, why the state is going after people like Rai and what exactly needs to happen. But if you do the quick maths on 25,000 metric tons, in essence, if you convert that to kgs and then divide that by 50 kg bag, then you'll see how much the people of Western Kenya are losing yes, in terms of opportunity cost by foregoing revenue that would have come to them. And so I believe that as much as the president looks like he's involved in county issues, if you do that quick math, then you realize that even the governor might not be able to handle some of those issues. And therefore, it is incumbent upon sometimes the national government to intervene for the sake of its citizenry. At the end of the day, the citizens of Western are still citizens of Kenya. And where the governor has an impediment, it is incumbent upon the national government to intervene and assist them.
Yes. To what level should the president be involved in this particular issue? Let me just give you a bit of history, especially when it comes to Mumia Sugar. Wow. There's an issue that even the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, in the last few days of his administration, he went back to this same place where the president has gone. He said, my government has committed to actually settling the dues that have not been settled for these farmers in this particular factory. And then said, we've started a process to privatize these particular institutions and work with these private investors so that we make sure that you guys will be benefiting from these factories. So you like to think that this particular government and the president himself should have gone back and said, I'm going to review what was happening in this particular factory, what was good. Probably the only thing that should have happened, Mr. Mungai, is a meeting between him and the investor, who's Rai, who won that particular contract to revive a dead Mumia Sugar factory. All of a sudden now, we have a president who's heavily involved in this issue to the point that he's carrying it now as a personal matter when it's never a personal matter when it comes to this factory. It is the investors who put their money in. It is all the taxpayers' money that was actually spent on this factory last year. Those billions that were paid out to those farmers. Why is it a personal issue for him?
I'll tell you why. And it's important that we put these issues out in the open so that Kenyans understand what exactly the state is doing and why Uhuru Kenyatta was not able to succeed.
Yes.
Especially not just Uhuru Kenyatta, even President Kibaki, President Moi, they have all tried to revive the local sugar sector.
Yes.
To nothing, it hasn't amounted to anything much. And I'll explain why. The story of Western Kenya and sugarcane, is the story written by a famous writer called, and a former journalist called Tom Burgess or something like that.
Yes.
He has written a book called The Looting Machine.
Yes.
Now, if you read that book called The Looting Machine, it is an exemplification of someone like Rai, the sugar baron.
Yes.
And this is where a baron or a cabal goes into bed with a state. The state looks like they want to solve issues, but in essence, they are just handing over business to the sugar cartels. And I'll explain for you to be able to understand what exactly is happening. Now, some time back, you remember, the price of sugar was astronomically very high. Now, what the government had done, they had allowed, we have an arrangement with COMESA in terms of us importing sugar.
Yes.
And therefore, what had happened is that the sugar was not available. There was a shortage of sugar, including globally, and therefore we could not be able, and I'm just giving a specific example, we were not able to import sugar from the COMESA region. So what the government did, they went ahead to issue a duty waiver on imported sugar from regions outside the COMESA region. They allocated around 120,000 metric tons to ease the sugar shortage. That sounds like a tongue twister.
It actually is.
I think I need some sugar. But this is what happened shockingly.
Yes.
Of the 120,000 metric tons that was supposed to be imported, Rai and his group took 80,000 metric tons. So the rest of the market was left to import 40,000 metric tons of the 120,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the 40,000 imported, when you import, you have a bill of lading. So what Rai and his group did, they went ahead and purchased the sugar while it was in high seas of these guys who had brought. So in essence, one person got to control the entire sugar value chain of the whole country.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened is that we got a very huge sugar shortage, which in essence led to a spike in the sugar prices in the market. And the government had to intervene again and reissue more duty waiver allocations so that more sugar could come into the country, because one person had hoarded the sugar for the whole country. Now that is the level of cabals we are talking about. Now I have asked you to do a very simple math here of 25,000 metric tons, which is half a ship. If you make 3,000 per 50 kg bags, one person, one importer, is making 1.5 billion Kenya shillings. Now that is money that would have gone into the pocket of farmers in Western Kenya. So what happens is that, you remember there was an outcry the other day because government had not issued licenses for local millers to import sugar. You remember there was an outcry.
Yes.
But because the government realized they are issuing licenses, but it is a cabal that is benefiting and not necessarily the farmers of Western Kenya. And therefore, there is bound to be a lot of wailing and a lot of crying from the cartels who for a long time have beholden the sugar industry. Look at it this way. In Mount Kenya, we always complain about the prices of coffee. And to a large extent, the reforms have been benefiting the farmer. To a large extent, we are not there yet, but to a large extent, yes. But when you look at what happens in Western Kenya, it has been a story after story of promises of we are settling debts. The question you need to ask yourself is this: when the government settles debt, who pockets that money? Because we can't be repaying debt every year. Tumetenga 1.5 billion ya kumaliza loan ya wakulima. Another year tumetenga 10 billion ya kulipa pesa ya wakulima. Who actually gets this money? Because when you go to Western Kenya and you look at the typical farmer, he does not look like he has benefited from 10 billion in terms of his debts being paid.
Yes.
And therefore, the fight will be systematic.
In the sense of, like, whatever explanation that you're making, they're not disagreeing with you, Mr. Mugai. They're saying, fine, we do agree that you want to correct the picture, the entire outlook of that particular sector in the country, fine. But there is somebody who rightfully won a contract, but there was a competitive bidding process. To the point that, if you do remember that particular story, there was a time he almost lost it, where they were arguing on what are you going to offer this particular factory and the farmers in general, even this area. Came back with a better proposal, said, I'm going to pay all the debts that are owed to the farmers. So why can't we then allow this particular investor, Mr. Mugai, just to continue doing his business? Why can't we disassociate what is done before to what is going on at Mumia Sugar?
You know, Simba, the beauty about that region is that they have gold. And sometimes what we say is that not all that glitters is gold. A good proposal is as good as execution. Now, you have cartels bidding, offering very good proposals, but when you look at the flip side, they are not paying farmers. Always they are complaining, we made a loss, this machine was not working, they are always delaying farmers. Because I do not want us to limit this conversation to the elite. Because you see, the elite at the end of the day, Rai does not go home empty-handed. Rai does not sleep hungry. His children do not study in a local Webuye or whatever primary school. So let us for a moment shelve the story of the cabals for a moment, and let us think of the typical sugarcane farmer. For instance, where are we growing cane that takes ages to grow, and yet in other jurisdictions, we have cane that can mature in 3 months? Who exactly is opposing the proposal to have a better cane growing in the western region? Why are farmers struggling with a cane that takes ages to grow, which in the last few months, by the way, they have been harvesting prematurely until government had to stop them from harvesting the cane? Who exactly is making sure that the farmers do not benefit, and yet they are the ones that won the tender and they had very good proposals? Why is there no movement in terms of money getting into the farmers' pockets?
Is that not a question then that the president should be taking up with that particular investor, by the way, who read through an entire application process that was floated by the government, went in, got that tender. Now, all of a sudden, the president, a new president, by the way, comes in and says, well, no, I don't recognize you. This business is for the farmers, and the farmers are going to control it. So we're going to control it as a government. Aren't we supposed to run away from government-run businesses? Because we've seen, if you look at majority of them, this morning, KQ is reporting the worst loss it has ever seen in a half-year period. If you look at those results, all the way up to 2023, and the rest of the sugar factories as well in the country, they are run like that. Does Ruto have a magic bullet? And that's the question that we put to you this morning. Because even when we was talking about Nzoia Sugar, it's going to do the same thing that Uhuru Kenyatta proposed. I am going to pump more money into this particular sugar factory. Nzoia Sugar itself, it's got debts up to 50 billion that it owes the national government. So more money to solve what? At this point, I want to introduce to the conversation John Roho, who is a former MCA Kinyona. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good.
Karibu sana. I want to throw you into the conversation. By the way, I saw a meme this weekend. I don't know whether Kenyans just got creative. That in the meeting that happened in Western, the cabinet meeting, one Moses Kuria had to take a border just not to get late to the meeting because he was told you. So it was crazy. Joe, I want to put you into the conversation.
Yes.
This tour of the president in Western Kenya, coming just a couple days after he met all the 47 governors, not for one day, for more than 4 days, talking about development, talking about what the government is to achieve in this devolved unit. Is it about political mileage or development? I want you to have your 3 minutes. We take a break and then we'll still come back with you.
Thank you very much. And I need to appreciate the conversation that has been going on, and it is very informative. My colleague here seems to have delved much into the current issues that are going on. I want to believe that just to pick something small from the conversation, there is, where I was at school, there were two options. It is either you do not know the answer to a question, or you know the answer and deliberately you decide that I will not give the answer. And therefore people will run round and round and round because you know the answer, but you have decided 2 + 2 is not 4. You definitely know it's 4, but you have decided that I will always give a 6. So we will keep looking for the answer, trying to know why it is 6 and yet it's supposed to be 4. So in the question of sugar and farmers in Kenya, there seems to be someone somewhere, or a group of people, or a team who definitely knows the answer to the problems the farmers are going through. But they deliberately decide that the farmer will not take this route. The farmer will take the other route. Because they, by virtue of giving a wrong answer, they are benefiting. Now, coming to the question you've just given me about the president meeting the devolution captains, that is the governors, and then following them to mashinani. There are two perspectives. There's one political, which every politician, I was a politician, a practicing politician, but now I'm just a dormant politician.
You still a politician. once one, always one. There
is always a political outcome. There is always a political outcome when a politician is doing something. And the president is looking at the two. The discussion that was done the few days with the governors, implementation of the development agenda that was set, I believe so, and also ensuring that he still keeps in touch with the people who gave him the votes. So there, it's two way. There is that political aspect, and there is also that developmental aspect.
This particular issue of, let's go to the counties and talk about the problems that have been developing these counties, to the point that now the critics of President William Ruto are saying, why are you picking fights with specific individuals? Why? That is a fight that the county government should take up. You met the governor was right there with you. That it could have looked okay for you to call the governor and say, give me the development plan for this Mumia sugar factory. Then after that, you follow up that case with the county governor, because agriculture is developed. That particular sugar factory, it is developing, it is benefiting the farmers of that particular region.
Correct.
Not the president, isn't it?
I believe, like I have said, the problem of sugar and other farmers' products has not started today. So by virtue that this is an old problem, it has camouflaged to something different. And I want to believe it requires high power. And I think when the president met the governor and they had this one-on-one discussion, maybe the governor requested that now here, this is big fish and it requires high power, high attention. So I want to believe positively, the president having come into the discussion, it makes it serious. Because maybe these people who have held this, the people who have made the farmer go through challenges for ages, have camouflaged and they know the formulas to use. Maybe the governor was too small for them.
I want to come back from this break, because now we're going to define even some terms that the president has used. We started this show this morning by saying why Kenyans afraid when somebody tells them we're going to escort you to your Mecca. You know, there's a big statement that the president made. But once we come back, the question is going to be, John, you're not doing anything different that your predecessor did to those factories. Your predecessor said, we've got to change management, and it was changed. Your predecessor now said, we're going to pay the debts that these factories owe, and some of them were paid. In fact, some farmers even started receiving those monies that were essentially taken to these factories. I do remember Peter Munya with Uhuru Kenyatta in his last few days, still at that particular factory telling farmers, now we're here to solve those problems. Even ordered some of those billions to be transferred to that factory kitty. The question is going to be then, is he getting it wrong? To the point that now every other person is telling him, hey, Bona, you can't speak like that as a president. Once we come back, we still do have John and Mr. Mugai right here. Let's weigh in on that definition. What did the president mean when he said, I will escort you to your Meccas if you do not get out, once we come back.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Today we are hosting the Lotto Foundation as they do a food distribution to the community. The community involves people from Huruma. Huruma is where we have the home for the aged. So quite a population from the home are getting the gift packs. Most of our children come from Githogoro and Huruma. These are informal settlements. Honestly, these parents have not been working. The number of children that will come to me, even the ones who are not in school, and tell me, Mwalimu, we have not fed for 3-4 days, is quite huge. So this will go a long way. A family that has not fed for 3 days, they will at least get a meal. We also thank Lotto. This is the second time that you're coming, and it always makes a difference. It always makes a difference.
Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Beautiful, wonderful, glorious. We are having the show that we share entitled Shepherd Voice.
I'm waiting for you to get me to Kenya. That's what I'm waiting
for you.
God is the source of every blessings that flow into your life.
And I know that God is going to bless you and to do a new thing.
Pray. Pray.
Welcome back to the Morning Drift. We are going to answer those questions now. And there are two of them. And I'm going to start with John for the sake of us getting him on air for a couple of minutes. These are the two questions that Kenyans have asked. Double speak from the government. The entire cabinet was in Kakamega to attend a cabinet meeting because the president decided I'll be in the Western region. So we have to run government business in the entire of that process. So all of you come to Kakamega. Somebody asked the question, for a government that is crying that we do not have money, that is only adding 1,000 shillings on police pay in the country, and teachers also going to get a paltry pay rise, why can't you stick to running thin as a government? How much was used to transport 22 cabinet secretaries to Kakamega? And PSs as well. How much was used? Was that necessary? Couldn't the president have come back himself and then go back? That's the first question. And John, the second one is, for the sake of every other person who's watching, you see the president has already been told you're getting reckless. The LSK has spoken about it. He said you can't threaten individuals in this country. And what does he mean when he says that I'll escort you to your Mecca? What does the president say? What does he mean, John?
Of course, maybe let me start with the first question. Yes. Considering that the president carried the whole cabinet. Actually, the government, we can say the government was in Kakamega.
It was in Kakamega.
If what we are seeing on the papers, is something to go by, it is true that the president wanted to get in touch with the devolution captains, the devolution power. And considering now this was almost the first time that he is engaging deeply with all the governors, I want to believe that he needed to do that. In as much
22 cabinet secretaries and PSs to Kakamega?
It was devolution. The agenda, the country agenda that time, I believe, was devolution.
Fine.
So that is why I'm saying he needed everybody concerned, so that if a governor raised something that requires a ministerial approach from a CS, it won't be a second-hand communication. It will be first-hand.
John, they never spoke about even Kakamega issues. All Kakamega issues were spoken on the roadside by the president. They met, and what they essentially did is start the process of repealing NHIF. That was it.
I want to believe there are other things that were spoken that we never got to know. But we are trying to be positive here because this country, we are at a level where you correct any positive thing that you find on the way because the negative is everywhere.
Yeah.
The president went with the whole government to Kakamega. And I want to believe that we need to see the outcome following up. Engagement, the president and his cabinet. I was in the previous government, and I can tell you, some of the CSs were untouchable. It is either you go through the president to them, but you cannot go directly to them. So this, I find it an easy platform where if a governor speaks about water in his county, the CS water is present. So we are talking about water. Let us hear what the government is planning. Is it in tandem with what you are looking forward to achieve in your county, you as governor, so and so. So I want to believe that meeting was necessary. And even if it happened in Nairobi, there is something we would be saying. We used county money to ferry 47 governors to Nairobi. When they come to Nairobi State House, we never complain. But maybe now when they are going, the CSs go to the governors.
Yes.
Now there is that question, how much did we spend?
Yes, but John, are we forgetting that devolution is in full effect? That indeed those county governments also have CECs that are in charge of all these dockets that these county governments have. That it would not make sense for you to carry the entire government to Kakamega, spend all that money. Remember, your tour is also costing taxpayers money in Kakamega. Then now you decide, because I'm here and I don't want to leave, let me try and have my cabinet meeting right here in Kakamega. To the point that if you calculate the amount of money that those 22 CSs have used, CSs, and their permanent secretaries have used all the way to Kakamega, it would even fund majority of the things that he was talking about this weekend. Zoya factory, Mumia's factory. Some farmers will get paid, John.
Let me take you back. Every activity that is undertaken by the government must have been budgeted before. It was there in the budget. And allow me to say that if something wasn't in the budget, definitely, even the controller of budget or the auditor general would question. So there was something that was budgeted in that, in that department, in that ministry, that would have enabled them to facilitate the ministers and the PSs to go to a devolution meeting. So it was there in the budget. And one thing that we Kenyans sometimes look forward to every time there is money spent. You buy a new suit, you needed to go to an interview so that you can earn some more money to be able to do something else, to repair your gate. But then somebody says, Mugai bought a new suit. Why wouldn't he use that money to repair the gate? But if you look at, if you foresee tomorrow, Mugai was wearing a new suit because he needed to get that job. And from that job, he would earn more money to repair his gate. There is one thing that the president needed to do, I think, in my own perspective. Yes. Somebody has to show that he is in control. And if you want to show that you are in control, just show someone you are also important. Having carried his government to a meeting with governors, proved to the governors you are also important. And allow me to say that the few times I have tried to investigate in my own way about how President Ruto does his own things, he's in another level. And he knows that the governors sometimes become demigods in their counties. When he meets them with his government, he is proving to them, you are at the county, but I'm at the national, but I'm looking at you. So he proves to them, you're also important. That is why I carried everybody. I never left anybody at home in Nairobi. I came so that I can listen to you. Now when he comes, solutions will be developed. I want to believe the governors took advantage of that occasion. Because when you talk about water, the CS water is there, the president is there. When you talk about electricity, the CS concerned is there, and the president is there. So if they never took that advantage, then it wasn't the president. Yes. It was the governor who the government was brought to them.
Yes, pretty much. So just take a minute, answer the last question then. Yes. And that is exactly what has got a lot of people criticizing the president this morning.
Correct.
What does the president mean when he says, I'll escort you to heaven, to your maker?
Allow me, I don't want to say the president was angry, but
he was, John.
If we go back to the good book, it says that be angry but do not sin. And I want to believe if we take literally what the president was talking about, the things that have happened to farmers are a big reason that would make someone get angry. You speak to farmers.
Did they make a mistake? Did they make a mistake?
According to me, yes. That was overboard. For a statesman, yes, the president, yes, that was too much. But I can understand his pain, where it comes from. Yeah. I am in avocado, and you go to a farmer, and due to whims in the market and misuse by the brokers, the farmer tells you, last month, somebody came to my farm, and he carried all the avocados and paid each at 2 shillings. And then you go to the market, you realize even outside at the gate, just in the shopping center, one goes at 10 bob. And then you go to the export, a kilo is 200 shillings. Then you wonder, the owner of the tree, the one who cultivated this avocado, cannot even get 100 shillings. So when you are the president and you are in charge, you will need to bridge this gap and get the money to the farmer. Yes. So maybe that is where now
Mr. Mugai, let's wait like this. And it looked peculiar. And Kenyans are asking those questions. Here is you talking about a factory that owes the government 50 billion. And then you're saying, we got to change the management first. Fine. That is given. If you feel that the factory is not performing, take out the management. But previously, even that guy seated at Mumias CEO is actually a new CEO. You can call him a new CEO for Mumias. So when you look at it, you're not doing anything different. But then, again, Kenyans were treated to the spectacle of the government seated in Kakamega. That's money. That's money. In fact, Mr. Mugai, if you look at that particular meeting, it is because the president was in Western and he realized, we got to talk about these issues in Western. So I'm not going to go back to Nairobi. Call those guys over. Let's talk about this government business here. Because if you looked at exactly what came out of that meeting, it was about the healthcare sector, about repealing NHIF and replacing it with 3 bills. One, so if you want to run a government thin, why can't you play to that tune, Mr. Mungai? And number 2, do you need 22 CSs and the PSs in Kakamega following you across the country, when in reality, what is coming out of that particular tour that you're taking is more political than development, Mr. Mungai?
Thank you, Simba. You know, there are a lot of naysayers whose work is to prophesy doom. And I'm glad you're not one of them. But there are many, and they are out there who they never say anything good. Let's imagine for an instance what happened in Kakamega. You have 22 cabinet secretaries, and whenever there is a cabinet meeting, the PS is bound also to be there, just in case there are queries or there are technical issues that need to be handled.
Yes.
Now, those are 44 people who slept in Kakamega.
State lodge.
Not necessarily state lodge.
Yeah.
Okay?
You like to think.
No, not like to think. That's the reality. You know, state lodge is not a hotel. Okay? It's a place where the president, it's the seat of power in Kakamega. Okay? Now, those are businesses. They are businesses that raked an income out of just having the entourage in Kakamega. What entourage are we talking about? A CS has bodyguards, a CS has a driver, a CS has a PA. Likewise for a PS and for other supporting cast. Now, that is money that was left for the businesses of the people of Kakamega. Anyone who invested in a good place in Kakamega has reaped something as a result of having the meeting in that particular place. That is one. Secondly, there are CSs in Ruto's government who sometimes imagine their work is based in Nairobi. You know, sometimes a CS can stay in Nairobi in a very posh office and forget that even Kakamega belongs to him as a CS, or Kiambu or Makueni. You know, sometimes because of cluttering of diaries, you can spend all your time in the city. And you imagine that you are only a CS for Nairobi. But it is good that the president takes his cabinet to far-flung areas of the country so that the CS and PSs also get to understand that, look, when you are the Minister for Agriculture and the farmers in Western are crying, they are equally as important as farmers in Central Kenya. They are equally as important as the dengue farmers in Makueni. Because sometimes when you sit in Nairobi and you just sign papers, you know, you sign papers without the understanding of what the people might be going through. And those people, you know, sometimes you sign things because you're the CS, but you do not understand the implications that those things have on the common mwananchi. So if you're doing something on sugar as the CS and you've been to Kakamega, you have listened to the stakeholders in Kakamega, including the farmers, including the tractor drivers. You have a 360 degrees view of that sector, not necessarily in entirety, that's why you need experts, but you have an understanding. So even when a policy is brought to you, you understand how that policy might affect the stakeholders. And therefore, I believe that what the president is doing with his cabinet secretaries in terms of going with them to the ground is equally very important. Because remember, apart from CSS like Kuria, Aden Duale, Alice Wahome. You know, those who are politicians, and they accompanied the president in touring a majority of the areas in the country. Some of those CSAs have just been stuck in their areas of jurisdiction. They have not been able to go anywhere outside where they have been serving. And therefore, I think it is important that the president goes with them. Now, secondly, on the issue of taking people to heaven.
Yeah.
You know, the president is a man who is born again. And he is a Christian in terms of practicing.
Here it comes.
And I believe the president must have read the verse that says, you know, the king does not hold the sword in vain. It is the sword that he was given was it Kasarani?
Yeah.
He was not given that sword so that it is ornamental when it is seated at State House. It was meant that once in a while, the whip will be cracked. And let me tell you, Simba, you know, sometimes when you imagine about and you think about the common man, sometimes I feel pity and mercy for him. You know why? I have seen the Law Society of Kenya come out gun blazing and the civil society. And I have asked myself a question. Now, if Rai is in court, who's representing Rai? There must be a lawyer. What is the fee structure for that lawyer who's representing Rai? You have seen that there have been counter injunctions to an extent that even the court itself now is confused, because you rush to this court, they give you an order, you rush to this one, then this one hears this one had done this. I mean, there is total confusion, and the people that are benefiting are the members of the Law Society of Kenya. But the question I'm asking myself this morning is this. For the sugarcane farmer who has 4 acres of sugarcane, who is representing him? Does he have money to pay for a lawyer and move from one court to the other seeking injunctions? And what is the probability that a sugarcane farmer will be able to maintain a lawyer, and that lawyer will go head to head with the legal counsel representing Rai and actually get to win that court case? So who represents the interests of the farmer? And therefore, Simba, I must put it to you that the president was right in his assertion that there are only 3 options. One is to go to jail. Now, how do you go to jail? There is a legal process towards going to jail. And that's where the Law Society of Kenya come in, because then there is a representation of the parties before you go to jail. So that's fine.
Yeah.
The second one was to move out of the country. He said you will move out of the country. Why is that important, Simba? Now, a person is seated in Kenya and they hold dual citizenship. They hold a passport for Kenya and they hold a passport for the USA.
Which is legal as well.
Which is legal. I'm not saying it's illegal.
It's provided for. It's provided for, isn't it?
I'm not saying it is illegal.
Yes.
No. Please do not misquote me.
Yeah.
It is not illegal to hold dual citizenship.
Yes.
I'm just saying in terms of country interest, someone is willing to come and mess with our farmers. And when our farmers are crying, that person has a liberty. You know, Simba, I believe you're of the same level. I'm just assuming. It's a very big assumption. Therefore, it means I have only one citizenship.
Me too.
I am hoping you have one. You can confirm you have one.
Just one.
You know, I could be quoting myself to John here, and maybe John is also a dual citizen. So I must cut my clothes based on my size. Now, I hold only one citizenship. If things get tough in this country, UK can deny me citizenship if I go and seek asylum there. Even Uganda can reject me and say I am persona non grata in Uganda. It therefore means for me as an ordinary citizen, things must work, and they must work for me in this country. But for some people, they have the liberty to mess our farmers. They have the liberty to mess the common mwananchi, and they can still run away, like what the Triton fella did, the one of the Triton oil scandal. He ran away to another country and left us here holding a very big bill. So that option of people being escorted out of the country is actually a very good option, and the powers lie either with the CS or with the Immigration Department, and it is completely legal. The third option that the president intimated was sending people to heaven.
How? Somebody try. Mr. Mugai, you're Christian?
There are several ways of sending people to go and meet their maker. You know, when Jesus was on earth, he said that he has gone to heaven to prepare us a house.
That's it. A home for us.
Yes, a home for us.
Yeah.
And it would appear to me that there are people in this country whose homes are ready. And the challenge is that they have overstayed their mandate in this country. You know, it doesn't make sense for your home to be ready up there, and you're down here disturbing us.
But who are we? Who are we to say that somebody has overstayed their mandate here?
No, you know it is good, eh?
Wait, that's it.
For the sake of the common good, you know, it does. Let me tell you, Simba.
Yeah.
You know, it does not make sense when my children are sleeping hungry and they are neighbors with John's children.
Mr. Mugai, are you ready to go to heaven?
Who?
Are you ready to go to heaven?
Myself?
Yes.
No, you see, there is a question of being, no. It's not that I don't like going to heaven, and don't misquote me, but there are circumstances under which you must be compelled to go to heaven. And I must submit to you that the circumstances are ripe for the cabals and the cartels to start their pilgrimage to go and meet St. Peter's. I think time is ripe now.
Mr. John, I got to ask you this question. Are you ready to go to heaven yourself? If the president can tell us, Mr. Mungai and Simba are ready to go to heaven and I want to escort them there, are you ready to go to heaven?
You know, it depends. I'm preparing. You know, one day we will eventually be there. And truth to say that it is if we can mention, because now we are discussing it in this mood.
Does it?
Looking at what the president said, you know, we are told there are those who will go to heaven and there are those who will go to. So I think it was even so positive.
It's very positive.
Come on, guys.
It was rather positive.
I know you can't.
You know, everybody out here is telling people to go to the other side. But when somebody tells you, I will take you to heaven, then that person is wishing you well. Anyway, maybe allow me to just say that this discussion currently, the level at which the discussion is going on is the level of those who are able to discuss it. But like Mr. Mungai has asked, what is the feel of that farmer? Has anybody gone there to ask, how do you feel when the president says, I will crack this whip? Yes, everybody is out there. I will defend Rai because basically nobody does anything for free. Somebody also said, there was somebody who mentioned and said that nowadays even people working at Red Cross get paid. So there's no free task around. So when you hear, and I have friends who are lawyers, and I know when you hear them mention that we are going to defend so and so, it means there is money. I would request, like Mr. Mungai has said, the president of LSK, does he know the problem that is ongoing? And if he does, let us see his whole cabinet, if he has one, in Mumias, saying that we have corrected data and we now have a case and we will defend this farmer until we will defend him from the president himself. We will defend the farmer from Rai and the other people until this farmer gets his rights. But when we are out here on camera, some of our cameras cannot even, do not get way to the farmer. To see, I saw one, but that was not on the media. It was on social media. A farmer saying 20 acres, when Mumias went down, 20 acres of sugarcane. Actually, he was saying that I think 1 month after the time is ripe for harvest, there is that now transformation of sugar into almost wood. It's almost wood. So he could not even harvest 20 acres. And these are not beans or cabbages. We wait for 2 or 3 weeks or 6 weeks and we harvest. This is something that you have watched grow, and then when time comes to sell, there is no one to buy, and when that person is buying, there is this mega coins that they are bringing. Can LSK defend that farmer and give us results and say, Mr. President, aside, this ball is on our side. And there is a statement the president said, go to jail. The president cannot take you to jail. Now that is where LSK comes in. Okay, if the farmer is offended, then LSK help us take this person to jail because the president won't. So let us, if everybody is rallied towards helping a farmer, the farmer, then we will support them. But let us not come out here and show off that we are now the constitutional holders. Does the Constitution has a right for all Kenyans? Yes. What about that right of that Kenyan who is in Mumias, who never took the kids to school last month or this month? Because somebody took advantage of what he is doing. Does he has a right? Who is defending that right? Does that Constitution include that Mumias, or it includes only Rai and the others?
You know, Simba, I've just remembered a song before you want to take us to a break. No, I can take us to a break.
Okay, that's it with the song.
No,
all right, let's do this.
I've just remembered the song that sings, when he calls me, I will answer, I'll be somewhere. You know, we keep on singing that song every Sunday, that when he calls us, we will answer. Now, William, the president, is calling those cabals and those thugs and those cartels, and they are refusing to answer. Why are they refusing to answer?
William is all God.
Why are they refusing to answer?
William is all God.
And every time we sing, we will be somewhere working for our Lord. And when he calls us, it is time to answer now. We can go for the break.
We are not, our mics and cameras were not responsible for the Discord that we had from Mr. Bugai. That tune is not ours. Once we come back.
Assalamu alaikum. Siku ya leo tuko katika kaunti ya Kwale. Takriban watu 800 leo watapokea usaidizi wetu kwa hisani ya Loto Foundation. Kwa hivyo ambatana na mimi siku ya leo tuone hali vipi.
Iko mbaya sana baba. Iko mbaya hali. Iko mbaya. Njaa tu. Tunashukuru kwa grupu ya Tuliani Kayamba.
Nashukuru kupata msaada kidogo, unaweza kunisaidia kidogo.
Waizidi na imani hiyo.
Asante sana kwa Loto, manake imebadilisha maisha, imetugusia maisha yetu, na leo tunalala watu tofauti.
Na bwana wanekasheni, nashukuru na Mungu akubarikieni.
As long as we go with that theme that ukicheza kila mtu ni mshindi, we will also continue to support.
Kwanza na wafurahikia sana, nataka tena wakija wanikumbuke mimi mzee wao.
Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your #1 show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Yeah. Let's go.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, Join me, Nancy Lelima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lelima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
Let's get into the last part of our conversation this morning. Thank you very much for being online. I see a lot of questions that are coming through. By the way, I'm going to take 5 or so minutes then to put them across to Mungai and John right here on our set. Thank you very much for our online community. We are live on Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. The hashtag to use right now is the hashtag Morning Drift. Now, gentlemen, even as we move away from this entire conversation of the president and what he said in Western Kenya, going by how his outlook is now, do you think the president has gained political mileage or is losing it by what is going on with Rai? The entanglement of Rai, allegedly abducted, and that's when the president comes in and then makes these vicious threats to any other person who's actually trying to bring down the sugar business in the Western region. Do you think that indeed now it gives him a proper standing in the Western region, going by what has happened to Rai in the country?
Simba, yes. If I call you for a feast and I prepare a huge sufuria of soup, and somewhere as we are waiting to serve, a fly falls into the soup. You know, despite the fact that the soup looks very good and very inviting, the fact that one fly has fallen in it will always leave us with a bad taste in our mouth.
Does it?
Now, Ruto, the president, is trying to create a very nice soup for the citizenry. But once in a while you have some flies falling into the soup, the likes of Rai and his cabal of let me not call them thugs, they might sue us, and you know we don't have money to pay these lawyers. But once in a while you'll have those kind of flies falling into the soup, leaving a bad taste for everyone in the mouth. But be it as it may, the president has a single obligation to protect the interest of the majority of Kenyans. And I put it to the people of Western Kenya, they have an opportunity now to correct the messes that bedevil the sugar industry than they might have in future. Why? If they sit back and watch their industry being destroyed, it will be akin to the way Mount Kenya sat down and watched President Moi destroy the coffee sector. Even up to date, many years down the line, the coffee farmer is still crying. We're still having task force after task force to remedy the coffee situation. And therefore, to the people of Western Kenya, they have a big responsibility right now to join the government and the president in fighting the cartels and take back what belongs to them. Because taking away, watching Mumia's sugar, Nzoia's sugar being taken away from them is like watching for the coffee farmers, our cooperative and milling plants being taken away from us and being controlled by a single individual. Can you imagine what would happen, Simba, if we all harvested our coffee and tea, and instead of taking it to a cooperative society, the cooperative society is now owned by John alone? Then John or Simba, you decide how much to pay us and when to pay us. And sometimes you even say the coffee that we have brought you is not good coffee, so I'll not pay. Do you know the tragedy that belies a nation when we put the public interest into a few concentrated private hands? I must tell the people of Western Kenya, forget the politics. Forget what you're reading in the media today in the headlines. It is your responsibility to support the president in sending some of these people to heaven. And when I say some of these people, I do not necessarily mean the ones that are mentioned. But anyone who threatens communal interest has no responsibility and has no right to enjoy the right to life. Because why, as a citizenry, should we allow you to enjoy the right to life, yet you and your children have denied us the right to exist in the first place? If my children do not go to school today, it means you're setting them in future to be slaves of your children. Now, why would I close the curtains every night with my wife to procreate and sire children for you to go and become your slaves? No, we better dispatch you today and now, so that my children and your children and the children of the people of Western Kenya tomorrow also have an opportunity, including of even becoming the president. But it cannot be that we, the common people, must sire children for them to become slaves of other people who start by enslaving us now and taking away our birthright. It cannot be allowed. And therefore, Mumias, Nzoia, all those sugar factories in Mumia, in Western Kenya, yes, that industry must be revived. We must not allow what happened to Dominion Farm. You remember Dominion Farm?
Yes.
We must not allow what happened to Dominion. You know, you pass through the places of like Ahero, and you see places that would have been nice rice, you know, fields. That place would be very, very vibrant, producing. We would be having Ahero sugar in Githurai market. No, not Ahero sugar. We would be having Ahero rice, like you have Pishori rice. From where? We would be having the same from Ahero. But what is happening to the farmers there? We allowed a certain cabal, we allowed certain people with vested interest to kill the industry belonging to millions of Kenyans. We must not allow that to happen under our watch. And that's why I say,
yes,
I might be the only one who supports the president in terms of, I might be the lone voice in the wilderness, but I support the president,
yes,
that whoever needs to be dispatched, let us not waste time using Molo Line or 2NK. Let us use the fastest means possible to dispatch these people to their Mecca.
I do not know how we're supposed to get to the Mecca. John,
yes,
some question. This stance for the president, you can see, is getting a lot of criticism. And if you look at the Daily Nation this morning, they also do not know where to put it. That's why they're asking, is this smart or reckless? Do you think that politically this could be smart for the president or reckless for the president?
I need to appreciate what Mr. Mugai has mentioned and the call to the Mumias people,
yes,
to support the president. Because, allow me to say, we who are able to interpret speeches,
yeah,
we interpret in the manners that we want. But the question is, if the president now is found that he said things that were not right, and then he is told to apologize, like I have heard the RSK saying, withdraw and apologize. Yes, he has apologized. Have we given the solution to what made the president angered? Because he wasn't speaking that after a party. It wasn't a reaction from a party that he had yesterday night. It was a series of maybe communication, a series of calls, and this has not started with this government. It started a long time ago, and now somebody has to do it in a different way. If whatever he has said will give strength to his juniors who are supposed now to handle legislatively the cabals that are making sure that the farmer is not benefiting, yes, then let it be. If now the one who is taking up the responsibility of ensuring the farmer earns or reviving Mumias feels empowered to revive Mumias, then let it be.
Yeah.
The farmer needs to get his end result. And when the president says whatever it takes, if the farmer is to benefit, and we are not talking about one singular farmer, we are talking of a whole region. I was trying to calculate when Mr. Mungai talked about coffee. We Kenyans are not known to take a lot of coffee, and much of it is exported. So there could be interruptions with export and all that, and we know how that market went. Now, go to almost 85% of our homes, we take sugar. So local market is actually, would be enough to give the farmer his due. So we are not talking of Western countries or China or Russia or any other country getting involved to ensure that Kenya, the Kenyan farmer is not getting his dues.
Yes.
We are talking of a game in a jurisdiction, and Dr. Ruto happens to be the president. So it is like people playing around with you in your own house. You find things are going amiss in your own house. We are not talking about outside involvement. We are talking about local involvement. So somebody sets himself somewhere to ensure that the farmer does not benefit.
Yes.
And he ensures that status quo remains.
Yes.
Now the president has come to disrupt the status quo. But for us now, when we hear the president is disrupting the status quo, we now take sides. Who is taking the side of the farmer? That is the bigger question. We speak a lot of English out here. We explain a lot of things. We explain a lot of speeches. Who is explaining tentatively the tears of that farmer who has cried over years? Who is telling us and explaining the coffee farmer who had to clear all his bushes because it's not benefiting his family? Who is defining and explaining the tear of that farmer?
Yes.
Rather than just waiting for me to come and give jargon, and then we take a whole week explaining what the president said.
President Uhuru Kenyatta was blamed for not following the law.
Correct.
That he got to a particular point and became mischievous.
True.
Some people say that's why he became unpopular in the country.
True.
Will not listen to anybody. At this time when we're talking about this particular case,
Yes.
Rai has been allegedly abducted. Nobody knows where he is.
True.
What picture does this paint for the president? You have somebody here who's telling you, I'm going to escort you to your Mecca.
Yeah.
The other story here is that the central person to that particular message, nobody knows where they are.
Bwana Simba, for the first time in this country, we have had a president who is hands-on.
In that way, John.
I told you.
John, in that way.
I was
Hold on, John, hands-on in that way.
Hands-on.
Hands-on in that.
I was involved partially in the previous government, and I can tell you, and President Uhuru Kenyatta was a good man, but he expected when he gives you responsibility, he leaves you to be in charge, and that is why we had people who misused him by being a good person in terms of delegating.
Yes, and I'm sorry.
Now we have had this.
I'm sorry for cutting you short here.
Yes, yes.
Couldn't he have said that they're going to make sure that he's found first? You expected for him to say that, John.
You see what we are saying. We like I have said, whatever the president said, they need to. It's like the screen. You know, the screen, you just see me out there. But there is a lot of things going
in the background.
Correct. Now,
yes.
The question, we are just seeing the speech and just assuming that that part of the speech is exactly what is going on in the background. What if we ask ourselves, is there anything else going on in the background, that is meant to benefit the Kenyans?
Mr. Mungai, I'll be coming back to you on that. Here I am saying that Mr. Mungai is my problem, and I'm going to send him to heaven. I'm going to escort him to heaven to meet his Mecca. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Mungai disappears, allegedly. They are widespread. In fact, the conversation of the country is that, oh, that guy that he's talking about right there, nobody knows where they are. The families here are saying, well, we do not know. We've gone to Pangani police station. His car is still there. We've been told not to claim it. Until then, the police continue with their investigations. Politically then, and that's the same question that I put on to John. You have a president in the name of Uhuru Kenyatta, who people say, well, Bwana, you're not listening. All right? He's a man now who comes in, and the LSK is telling him, you see, you told us that in your administration, we're not going to see this. We're going to see the rule of law followed to the latter. Politically, could have been okay for him to balance the sides and say, well, that guy, if it's true that he's been abducted, we need our agencies to solve that particular case first. But whatever is done, allegedly, I'm going to put it in the open through the court process.
You know, Simba,
yeah.
On that issue of Rai and the president and disappearance, I must say one thing. Any man who invites a lion to a duel in a ring, the expectation is that you do not show up in the ring applying makeup and going there with friendly gestures. The implication is that you're getting into a ring and the fight might get nasty, and therefore you must prepare adequately. Now, for the president to succeed in this battle, he must be fearless and he must understand that this is a battle of attrition and this is a battle for the long haul. Because a person who has crippled an entire economy and benefits alone for a number of years has a war chest to his name. Regardless of the fact that you have political capital and you have the disposal of state resources at your disposal, but you must also equally understand that this person has taken a lot of time to develop resources that he can use to fight you, including politically. Because it's not the first time that Rai is appearing in a parliamentary committee. You remember there's a time he appeared for feeding us with sugar laced with mercury. And so this is not, we are not talking about an angel. In fact, I dare say that the president is even benevolent in offering them a place in heaven. Because people who feed us with mercury do not even deserve to be even escorted to that particular heaven.
As in on that now? As in on that now?
It's not a question of when the discovery has been made, but this is the best time because he wields the power and the state resources to dismantle not just Rai, but other cartels that bedevil farmers.
Which is what they're saying, that at the right place, when it fits you, you are in Western, they're struggling with sugar issues. So for political expediency, this is the time then now. You're going to talk about the Rai issues now.
The Bible says that there is a time. What does it say? There's
a time for everything.
Yes, there's a time for everything under the sun. There's a time to deal with Rai. There's a time to deal with the coffee cartels. There is always a time and the right time to do everything that needs to be done. In fact,
to the point that he has to go to Western and talk about this sugar issue there.
In fact, Simba, I'll tell you that the next best good time, and I want to implore the president and the CS for Interior, the next industry they need to revive is the sisal industry. And you know why? Because we need good ropes to hang a lot of people and a lot of cartels by the time we are done with this government.
Mr. Mungai, we've not seen the president in the northern part of this country talking about insecurity and the plans that they're going to do to fight Al-Shabaab.
No, I've said there's a time for everything.
And you've spoken about it.
No, there's a time for everything. Now is the time for Western. Previously, it was the time for coffee. A time will also come for northern parts of the country, and already as we speak, there are development phases going on there, including, you know, the signing of agreements to export live animals, which is already happening at the Lamu port. So that is to say, there's time for everything. And you know, the cartels, you know, dealing with cartels in the northern, the cartels called Al-Shabaab, is easy because those ones, when you dispatch them to the Mecca, there are no headlines. You know,
that's one way to go to the Mecca.
But this one of billionaires, it appears it has touched a raw nerve You know, if 20 Al-Shabaab had been killed, the headline would be 20 Al-Shabaab killed in northeastern. Then there would be a byline there that says CS Aden Duale promises more action and further whatever tough talk, something. The news would be very positive. Same way, because we know when Al-Shabaab are dispatched, it is for the good of the entire nation. Now, when we have economic Al-Shabaabs, we also need to deal with them in such a manner and have positive headlines that put it in a way that we protect the majority good following due process. Following due process, we protect the majority good by dispatching the minority who are setting us back.
You know who was famous with threats and tough talk?
Yeah.
It is Uhuru Kenyatta. That's why LSK is saying this morning, John, how different is this from what we were fighting in the other government? How different is this, John?
It's very different. A statement that I had spoken about,
yes,
that for the first time we have had a president who is hands-on.
Yes.
And the discussion about Mumias has gone to the headline, simply somebody has been touched.
Yes.
I remember the coffee summit that was in Embu.
Yes.
No, was it Meru or Embu?
Meru.
Meru. The governor of Embu actually went out and even named the companies that are milking the farmers.
Yes.
So this is not something that has started yesterday. This government has been continuously doing that,
yes,
ensuring that they kick out any person who is coming in between the real price and the price that goes to the farmer.
Yes.
So here comes the president, who is hands-on, and he is so involved into the matters of the republic. Let me ask you, or let me just say that politically, what do you think Mumias people are feeling? That the president said Rai will be taken to heaven, or finally somebody has come to our rescue? So we could be out here saying, yes, that the president is losing grip, he is offering threats, he is losing, but that grandmother who has waited for somebody to come and solve her problem finally feels,
yes,
that somebody is out there. And now, because all the stations are now speaking about the president's hard talk, somebody goes down there and says, you know why they are fighting the president? It is simply because he said, this person you already know, who has been taking your money and destroying our farms and has put us to abject poverty for the last 30 years, the president is being beaten and criticized because he said he will deal with him.
Yes.
What do you think the grandmother would feel? Finally. So the president is with the farmers. It is for us to take sides. We know where we shall stand. And especially the learned friends. Let us hear them speak and say, we are going to ensure that the president will not take anybody to heaven, but we are going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 things. I understand there will be a press statement later in the day. Every prominent person is speaking about what the president said. But the farmer has been suffering for 20, 30 years. And the only thing they can find to discuss is one singular statement out of a whole week conversation that was in Kakamega. One singular statement. You know now how, look at where we are as Kenyans. Out of almost a 100-page conversation that took place with governors, we are now taking one singular statement, and now that is which we shall make press statements. Every prominent person is giving his input. How I wish that after they discuss about what the president said, they would say,
yeah,
we are now going to offer an alternative formula to solving the president the problem the president wants to solve through taking somebody out of this country or taking them to jail. So if I remember when President Mwai Kibaki, the late, was the leader of opposition, he had what we called shadow cabinet. Remember shadow cabinet? Because he wanted to offer alternative formula of dealing with issues. Now, yes, the president said that. We have opposition today. I don't know whether they want to be in government or they want to remain in opposition, because the president is offering them opposition and then they are saying they don't want. So maybe they want the Gateman's house in government. They are in opposition. What formula are they giving us? An alternative formula? Because the president now said, the only way I know how, take him to jail, take him out of the country, or escort him to heaven. Let us not use that. We as opposition, we are saying, hold, Mr. President, the constitution is there. Don't use that. Let us use this formula to help the farmers. But nobody is saying that. They are saying Rai's right has been misused, and all other misses.
Let's take 1 minute and answer these questions, gentlemen. We only have a minute. So, Mr. Mungai, I've got a lot of questions to you. Thank you very much. Let me first start with Titus. Thank you very much for watching us this morning. Could you ask Mr. Mungai to tell us what he thinks of the decision to acquit Baba Wino? Yeah, it's a done case. You can talk about it. Yeah. 1 minute. Actually, 15 seconds.
I think the prosecution, as the magistrate noted, mishandled the case, and I hope in the long run DJ gets reprieve and he gets justice.
Yes, pretty much. I've got Raymond. Let me just put this to you. He's asking, ask your panel this morning what they think of the ongoing talks at the Bomas of Kenya. Are we going to see something come out of it?
That is a very question. Yes. Everybody in Kenya is asking that question because the president is so hard on where he does not want the opposition to be. Yes. And the question is, what are we discussing? So I don't think, I'm not looking forward to bombers. Yes. I just want Kenyans to be happy and support the president. Yes. And we move on. Okay.
Bonnie says, tell Mr. Mungai, we know the only way to send people to heaven, if we are human beings.
Which is, I'm glad he knows. I would also want to know which. And we know we are benevolent, we are sending them to heaven. Imagine if the president has said they are sending them to hell.
Pretty much. Guess guys, all these questions that came in, Fred Mokua, hopefully I've asked your question this morning. I've just put them together. And Ketani, you're watching us this morning. Good morning, sir. How is your break? Good. Take them back to the time that they joined us this morning online on Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. At Lookuptv, all of them, by the way, and at Kiage Simba, that's mine as well. We have a website where majority of these conversations, by the way, and as well, www.lookuptv.co.ke. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Hopefully you guys don't go to heaven yet. John, endelea kupanga kwenda mbinguni. Usielekesha.